Here's a feature-packed mid-range camera phone you may not have heard of, the Tecno Camon 30 Premier. What sorts of features are we talking about, and could this be worth considering over the more popular alternatives out there? I'm Will for GSM Arena, and let's find out in our Tecno Camon 30 Premier review. The Tecno Camon 30 Premier isn't a flagship, but it does offer some high-end features which garner some attention. These include a high-res LTPO OLED display and a potent camera setup, which includes a periscope telephoto cam and an ultrawide with autofocus. The design is premium as well, especially for a mid-ranger. There's a large, round camera bump which you normally see on flagship camera phones. The back panel is made of soft vegan leather, and there's a portion of the back made of aluminum too, which is an interesting accent. The frame is aluminum as well. Ingress protection here is rated at IP54, against some dust and splashes of water. The display of the phone is a 6.77-inch LTPO OLED panel with a high resolution, Gorilla Glass 5 protection, and a 120Hz refresh rate. This display looks good. At 451 ppi, the panel is sharp, and we also like the rather thin bezels all around. And there's support for HDR video here. Thanks to the LTPO tech, the display can dial its refresh rate quite low in order to save energy. We observed it going from a smooth 120Hz while swiping around to 10Hz while idling. When it comes to brightness though, the Camon 30 Premier falls behind some competitors. We measured around 580 nits maximum with the manual slider, which boosted to around 700 nits in auto mode when exposed to bright light. It's not too bad, but these days many phones can go north of 1000 nits. The Tecno Camon 30 Premier has a pair of stereo speakers with excellent loudness. It's among the loudest phones we've tested. At high volume levels though, you do get distortion. At normal volume, the sound quality is decent, with okay bass.
I'm wide awake, but you're a nightmare.
For biometric input, there's an under-display fingerprint reader. It's accurate and responsive, but we feel it's placed a bit too close to the bottom edge. The phone has a single storage option, 512 gigs on board, which is great. There is no microSD slot though. The interface of the phone is Tecno's iOS 14, running on top of Android 14. It's pretty straightforward and runs smoothly. One special feature is Dynamic Port. It's Tecno's own version of Apple's Dynamic Island. The bar across the top gives contextual info, as well as shortcuts to interact with certain system apps. There's also an IR blaster on this phone, so you can use it to control other devices with. Tecno hasn't come out and said how much software support they'll provide for the Camon 30 Premier. Hopefully it'll be for a decent amount of time. Now we'll talk about the chipset. It's a MediaTek Dimensity 8200 Ultimate. Specs-wise, it's the same as the Dimensity 8200. We're not sure what's different with the Ultimate version. In benchmarks, the Tecno Camon 30 Premier does a nice job. It's competitive against other mid-rangers in the class. And when it comes to CPU performance, it can even hold up against budget flagships, like the Nothing Phone 2 and the Galaxy S23 FE. There's enough power here for smooth everyday performance and even some gaming. The thermal management is decent here too. During our prolonged stress test, the phone maintained a solid level of performance. The Camon 30 Premier packs a 5000 mAh battery, and the battery life is competitive, with a good overall active use score of 13 hours and 29 minutes. You also get support for 70-watt charging, and the adapter is included in the box. With it, we were able to charge the phone from 0 to 77% in half an hour, and a full charge took 44 minutes. Finally, we have the cameras, which are powerful for the class. On the back, there's a 50-megapixel main cam with a relatively large sensor, a 50-megapixel periscope telephoto cam, and a 50-megapixel ultrawide camera which has autofocus. On the front, there's a 50-megapixel selfie cam with autofocus and eye tracking. And all cameras can record 4K video. The main cam delivers nice daylight photos with wide dynamic range. The colors are a bit on the conservative side, and from up close, detail sharpness could be better, but the two combined work out for a nice neutral processing. In low light, the photos come out looking very nice. The sharpening is balanced, and there's a tendency for a darker exposure, which produces a more natural looking scene, but may leave some shadows underexposed. Noise levels, detail, and dynamic range are great. 4K footage from the main cam is great. Everything looks clean, sharp, and detailed. Colors are lively, but not overboard. There is something called the Ultimate Enhancement mode. When enabled, it adds artificial sharpness and contrast. We like the non-enhanced video better. And here's a look at the electronic stabilization in action. It does okay, but when walking, it's not the smoothest we've seen. Now the Telephoto Cam. Its 3x zoomed images are very good. They're clean and sharp, with wide enough dynamic range. The rendition is very close to the main cameras. Sharpness, again, could be better, but overall we're quite happy with the results. Additionally, the camera has a short minimum focusing distance, which allows for some great close-ups. In low light, the night mode processing does an excellent job at retaining detail and sharpness. The overall rendition is comparable to that of the main camera. The Telephoto Cam also produces nice 4K videos, with plenty of sharpness and detail, and excellent contrast. Now we have the Ultrawide Cam, which is great. The photos are sharp and detailed and lack noise, even in more challenging scenarios. Our only complaint is that the 114-degree field of view isn't as wide as some competitors. In low light, the Ultrawide Cam is understandably softer than the other two, with a bit narrower dynamic range, but it's still quite impressive for this sort of camera. When it comes to video, the Ultrawide's performance is impressive. Its 4K clips are close to the main cameras in quality, with good sharpness and detail, and wide dynamic range. And finally, Selfies, which are great. They're detailed and sharp, with accurate colors. The subject is always well exposed, too. So that's the Tecno Camon 30 Premier. It may not be making headlines like some other mid-rangers out there, but when it comes to features, it over-delivers. You get the premium design, an LTPO OLED display, loudspeakers, a solid chipset, and good battery life and charging speed. Not to mention, the camera quality is exceptional for the class. There are a couple of nitpicks. The display isn't the brightest around, and the future software support is left up in the air. But if those don't bother you, the Tecno Camon 30 Premier is a standout mid-ranger that's worth recommending. Thanks for watching, guys. If you're looking for alternatives, you can check out our reviews of the Samsung Galaxy A55 and the Xiaomi 13T. Let us know what you think, and I'll see you on the next one.